Hi, I'm Stephen Jarvi, Music Director of the Dearborn Symphony, and I'm here to welcome you to Symphony Notes, where we talk about what's happening next at the Dearborn Symphony, and we're about to wrap up our season May 3rd at 7:30 p.m. here at the Michael Guido Theater at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center, and I am joined by Kevin Dewey, Music Director of Vangard Voices, and this time the Vangard Grand Chorus, as we are excited to present to you Carmina Burana by Carl Orff, one of the grand masterpieces of classical music, and music that we can be joined by voices, both a chorus, a children's chorus, and vocal soloists from around the country. And this is a really special way for us to end our season with the kind of grandest of the grand. Tell us all about what is happening with Carmina Burana and why is it the Vangard Grand Chorus as opposed to Vangard Voices?
Well, thanks for having me on, Maestro. It's a very exciting time for us because, as everybody knows who's ever heard it, Carmina Burana is an awesome piece of music. It's just bombastic. It's got beautiful, soft, pretty parts. It's got huge parts. The general public, even if they're not a classical music fan, will recognize the music because the first movement has been used in lots of movies and commercials and used to even be the Detroit Pistons theme songs.
That's like a very intimidating walkout song.
Yeah, well, Vangard Grand Chorus, as you mentioned, I conduct Vangard Voices for over 30 years now here in Dearborn. It's been a wonderful go. And what we do is every once in a while when we have a need for a larger chorus, because Vangard Voices is around 70 to 75 singers typically. But if you're going to sing Carmina Burana with a full symphony orchestra, you want to have 100 singers or more. And so I recruited some friends, some other choristers that normally can't make a full-time commitment to Vangard Voices, and they come and join us. We'll have about 120 singers that night.
120
Yeah,
voices.
yeah, and it'll be called, and so I call that Vangard Grand Chorus instead of Vangard Voices.
And so that fills up the whole back of our auditorium, and then we also have some young people joining us. Tell us about our youth chorus, our children's voices.
Yeah, there's a few of the songs within Carmina Burana that are written for ragazzi, and that's Italian for boys. So, but they're not just boys, it's boys and girls, because certainly, why not? And the young singers are being assembled and rehearsed by Vanessa L. Zane, another marvelous gem in the Dearborn area. She is the music director for the Dearborn Theater Collective, and she is putting together the children's chorus for that part of the production. Now, as you mentioned, the chorus, the grand chorus, is going to be upstage or behind the orchestra, but up on risers, right? And then some people will be standing on each other's shoulders just to make sure they can fit. But then to the side, if you're looking at the orchestra, just to the side there, what we call the caliper of the stage, that's where the children's choir is going to be. And so they're very intimate. They're really close to the audience. And the audience and their parents will get a really good close look at them, and everybody will hear them really nicely, and it'll be really nice. They're in the second half of the piece, so they don't have to stand there the whole thing. It's about an hour long-ish, the whole thing, right? So they'll sit in a special section, and they'll come up when it's time to sing, and it'll be beautiful.
So this is about as many as people as I probably will have ever seen on the stage here at the Michael Guido Theater, and I mean a full chorus, 120 voices, is much more full-throated than the collection of just Vangard Voices that we had maybe for our concert in November. If you saw that kind of salute to Sousa and the American military. So for this, we have a very high impact piece, and you mentioned O Fortuna. It starts out with this huge kind of idea of the fates, right? That we have, the wheel of fate with both pleasure and all of the bad sides of things that come with this. And then we kind of follow along an adventure. You know, historically we talk about this might be the Gauliards, this kind of
perhaps,
collection of almost frat boys going from town to town perhaps, and celebrating in pubs, celebrating love. Tell us a little bit about the story of this and what makes it so special.
Well, it's definitely secular. It's definitely not a sacred church piece of music.
Yes,
it's
this is not the Messiah, folks.
No,
this is not.
No, as you mentioned, the Gauliards. I like to refer to them as a bunch of monks that were tired of being celibate and sober. That's kind of how I look at the Gauliards. They sort of embarked on their own worldly adventures and wrote their own worldly music and poems. Now, these are poems that were written by Gauliards. This is, I don't know, about 1,000 years ago, or
this is 12th, 13th century.
Yeah, and so they very likely were songs then, but we don't have any of the music come down through the time. It's the texts of them as poems that have come down to us that Karl Orff set mid-20th century to this it's very modern in some respects, the music, but it's also very primal. A lot of open fifths, for those of you who know what open fifth is, or stacked fifths, with just some really amazing sounding, very earthy, gritty kind of music for this. There's one song that only the men sing of the chorus. It's called In Taberna, which is in the tavern, and it's like the quintessential drinking song. They sing about drinking here, drinking there, drink to the Pope, drink to the King, drink to the, there's a beep, 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 beep. The word beep, beep means to drink, and that's mentioned about 100 times in the song.
Right, and language-wise, this is a kind of a combination of Latin and these vernacular languages, so it's something, again, that doesn't sound like Messiah, or it doesn't sound like something that's Italian-esque, or it's kind of its own little version of languages that we explore.
It's funny you should mention that. Yeah, there's times when it's a little bit Frenchish, and there's times when it's a little bit Germanish, and there's times when it's a little bit Latin. Most of it is Latin-ish, as you say. It's not exactly your grandma's Latin. My approach to the language, and there's many different approaches to the pronunciation of these texts, because we don't have all the cassette tapes that they made have since deteriorated, in the 1,000 years since they were. So we don't know exactly how they were pronounced, although most of the scholars have a pretty good idea. But I don't worry about that too much. What I just worry about is that the choir really spit out the consonants, so you can really hear that visceral and energetic part of the music. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and that's a word we keep coming back to, this idea of visceral and energetic. So the kind of superstructure of this, just to give people a lay of the land, is we have O Fortuna, that you've heard it in commercials, you've heard it in tragic movies, you've heard it in probably inappropriate places. And then we wake up kind of in springtime, and love is blooming, lots of fun sounds. Then we're on the green. Then you mentioned in the tavern.
Yep.
And then we move on to this kind of little love affair where the soprano voice is introduced, and finally the soprano sort of succumbs to the seduction of the baritone voice. And after all of these things kind of come all the way around, what do we end with but once again?
O Fortuna.
The wheels of fate spin.
Wheels of fate.
Yes. And so
the fickle finger of fate.
Yes. And so it's I love structure, and when you have something that seems so wild and raucous, it feels so great to have these kind of pillars that the audience knows. And we should also mention the tenor. The tenor in this is something kind of specific, right?
Tenor,
The swan on a spick sound. This is a really specific voice type. It's almost sort of like, I think of David Letterman, it's like a stupid human trick almost, to be able to sing so high and in this very specific sound.
If the people who really know the band Queen, it's like the drummer from Queen.
There you go.
He was the guy that's saying, "I'm in love with my car." It's way up there. And this guy, and the whole point is it's supposed to sound excruciating because, as you say, he's a swan spinning, over the fire. They're cooking him, and that's what he's singing about. It's I'm a swan spinning on the spit, getting cooked, and so it's agonizing what he has to say. It sounds agonizing. Now the soprano, you mentioned her. Oh, the soprano part is a tour de force because it could take 3 different singers to do the soprano solos.
Absolutely.
Because they're all so different ranges and different, and the very last thing she sings is a high D above high C, and it's just amazing. And that part's a cappella. All by
so
itself.
I'm so glad that you transitioned us into talking about our singers, because we are joined by 3 extraordinary soloists. Our tenor that will be roasted is Seth Johnson from Ohio, joining us from the Toledo area. Melissa Maloney is joining us as our soprano from Wayne State University. And my dear friend from the Metropolitan Opera, Trevor Schoenemann, one of the great American baritones, is joining us, flying in just for this concert. I can't wait to present these amazing voices.
I can't wait to hear them. This is going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting concert. And, the preparation for this is also something we should talk about. We have to get kids involved. We have to, you've been winding up this chorus now for 6 months. So it's a real culmination of all the things that we're doing at the Dearborn Symphony this season. What do you think you look forward to the most? Do you like the preparation? I love the preparation of this, but then I love the show too.
Well, what I love, in general, all the time in music, I tend to enjoy rehearsals as much and sometimes more than the performances, because if something amazing happens in the rehearsal, you can stop and just enjoy it and go back and do it again. You know, you can't have that kind of freedom in a concert. But then there's nothing like being on stage with the full orchestra.
Right.
Because there's going to be over 200 people on that stage that night. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be just there's going to be sweet, soft, lovely, soft sounds, and then there's going to be some of the most amazing, bombastic stuff that's just going to blow you away. This is a piece for all the people, because there's no creed involved in any of this stuff. It's all very secular, very wide open, and because it's in a different language that no one even knows, then no one has to even know what the words are.
Right. This is certainly music that can wash over you, and you get the gist.
Yeah, right.
You certainly get the gist. Very exciting, virtuosic for our Dearborn Symphony musicians as well. There's a very famous kind of dance number in the middle of that. But on this concert, also speaking of virtuosic, we're joined on the first half by a young concerto winner. This is Shuya Zhang, won first place in our Young Artist competition, a 12th grader playing Rachmaninoff first piano concerto. We've been doing a lot of Rachmaninoff piano concertos these days, folks, so I guess we're going to wrap them all up, because we played 2 this year. We're going to play a little bit of 1, and then next year we're going to play 3. Just a little preview for you. But it's exciting to present such a talented young person. Just overwhelming response from all of our judges, and we're so lucky to have this program where we can bring young people to the forefront, along with this incredible chorus. The absolute master of the voice here, Kevin Dewey, such an incredible leader. I mean, in just the time that we worked together before, just the amount of joy that you bring and the amount of concentration and focus that you bring with your singers, it's going to bring this kind of over the top. And then to have young people there, and also you having our audience is certainly the final ingredient. Witnessing something like this, that's kind of the best part. Being in the room where it happens is so exciting. I know I'm supposed to tell you that to sell you tickets, but that really is the goosebump moment of boom, oh fortuna, and it's live. It's not on your TV. It's not on your earbuds or whatever. It's right there being performed by human beings. And we can't wait for you to join us May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. here at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center, the Michael Guido Theater, one of the finest theaters in this region. It's going to sound amazing. Kevin Dewey, thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to hear the Vangard Grand Chorus.
Grand Chorus.
And all the excitement that comes around presenting this masterpiece by Orff. I'll see you at the Symphony.